Hey, my name is Valerie Price. I want to make some like 5 to 10 minute movies about the filmmaking process. The way I do it, which is like low budget and indie, and even though I never known anyone who did it the way I do, even though to me it seems like the most natural way. Um, I've always just kind of made movies with my friends and like the skills you build in that sort of environment. Like tend to take a certain approach, but I guess most people don't do it that way. I was lucky. I had some very talented friends in college, and and they taught me a lot. You know, I worked with some really cool people, and I guess I want to trigger warning this. This is a story about my friend who died, so I'm very sorry. Although I promise you it'll be a positive story, I just want to kind of he's a part of the movie, and he's a part of my life, and I love him. And I just want to give you like a little story about my friend Matt. My friend Matt was one of the first people, like one of the first great artists I met when I went to college. Like low key, like he used to keep like a daily comic journal, and it was like he's one of those guys who he was just like the most natural. He built Rube Goldbergs. He loved juggling. He had like a very creative, unique perspective on the world. It was like really touching. And when I first made in college, I wanted to be a rap producer, electronic artist kind of thing. And that was my whole life. I made music like 60, 70 hours a week. I worked at Pizza Hut enough to pay my rent. I lived in a $300 a month, little Athens, Ohio, basement where a little music studio. And I just the only thing in the world that made me happy was making music. And I found happiness, and I would just go into electronic music zone, and I would make music for 8 or 10 hours a day, and I would just be happy the whole time. And at the end of the day I would just be I'm so happy I get to be alive. I made this beautiful music. It was a very simple time for me. It was kind of finding my identity away as a musician, which at that point was fucking all I was. I was so fucking deep on that shit. And when I released my first, and the first time you make your first song, because I wasn't naturally good at it, I definitely was more into it. And I have a lot of friends who are more musically talented than me, but I put in the hours, and I love it, and I'm making something I love. So even though I don't have the most intricate chord changes in my music, which I think is a valid criticism, I think what I was doing was there. I was just very passionate about it, and I think that always came across. It was very ADD too. Every 8 bars would be a different song. It was no one could listen to it. I don't know. I sometimes I don't know if I'm autistic or not. Does any trans person really know? But I definitely was that electronic. I was that type of electronic music trans person. But anyway, when I released my first EP, and it was my first 4 songs I loved, and I still love those songs so much. They meant so much to me. He did the album art, and to take this something that at a point in time in my life when I was artist, music, yes, and to love someone's art enough that it felt it really expressed. It was this beautiful picture of someone breaking through a window, and you couldn't tell if they were flying away or killing themselves. It was this perfect moment in time, and it just it summed up it summed up something really essential to me about being alive and the way I take life. And you know what? We made that stupid mistake in your 20s when you moved to San Francisco and you live with your friends, and some stupid bullshit went down. It doesn't matter. We were both fucking stupid. Everyone involved was stupid, and the whole thing was stupid. And it was one of those things where oh, you live with your friends, you're all fucking immature, and your friendships are fucked up, right? That was a long time ago, though. Now we ended up in really bad terms, and I'll take as much blame. I'm not. It's just the other thing that's important to the story is that we were both immature, and we made some mistakes, and we hated each other. And as the years went by, I regretted that. I was going through some sickness back then. I had some thyroid stuff. I won't get into it, but I always regretted it. And also whoever was right or wrong, you still lost a friend who was a great artist. You know what I mean? I don't know a lot of great artists. I met a lot of great artists in college, but then you get older, and you're not in a concentrated academic place for artists. You're in the fucking real world, and you don't meet artists who touch your soul that way. Not even to mention being from the same generation and same cultural things. So we didn't talk for years, and every 4 or 5 years, I'd just send him an email and be hey, anytime you ever want to make up, cool. If not, I understand. Sorry if this email is not wanted. Just because and he never got back to me, and whatever. It was usually a little thing. But then you know what? And then I was making this movie, and we needed a DP, and the other thing about him that's really important is before we had our breakup, he taught me to shoot. He was the first guy I always wanted to make movies. You know what I mean? You have that want, but you don't know how. And no one, I mean, maybe YouTube's a little easier now, but like nobody tells you how to white balance a camera. Like there's no, unless you're reading the instruction manuals of cameras, that's how like a certain type of kid learned. I was not the kind of person who could read a VCR manual or like an MPC instruction manual. But anyway, Matt was the first guy who like put a camera in my hands and like showed me how to move it. And we shot music videos together, which was the most meaningful experience of my life. I love like music videos. Don't get me started. It's my absolute passion in life, and I try to bring that to everything I do. That like visual, like storytelling. But anyway, he taught me to shoot, and like that meant so much to me. And we used to shoot things together, and we like shot comedy videos. We did some UCB shows and stuff. It was a long time ago. But I was like really proud of what we did. Like we really made great art together. And when I was making this movie, I'm like, Matt, this is like I'm finally making my movie. I finally have a budget. I have Antoine McKay. I have a fucking cast. Like, and I offered him a bunch of money too. I offered him as much as I could. Like, and he got back to me, and we made up. And it, like after all these years and being broken up, like we made art together, and it was just like the old days. And he was just as good as I remember. Like his framing was just like, there's a certain shot in my movie where he does like this, like manual. It seems like a dolly shot, but he just has the steadiest hands in the world for like a 6-minute one shot that he perfectly nails and like improvises some crazy framing shit. Like it's the most beautiful thing, and it's the last shot in my movie, and I'm so confident in my movie because I know it ends on like the most beautiful shot in the world, and it's like heart-wrenching, touching. Well, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever shot, or like we've ever shot. Yeah, and like the last day of when we wrapped on our shoot was the very first day I injected estrogen. And we were like sitting there, like, you know, after the 3-day shoot, just kind of like, kind of patting ourselves on the back, like we did it, like it went well, like, do you think it'll be good? Like that, like martini shot last night, like energy, where you're just like, and I'm like hanging out with my friend Matt again for the first time in like 10 or 15 years or whatever, and he just said like, you know, I love who you are since you've transitioned. Like it's the best thing you ever did. Like he said all these like really nice things about that. Like right as I was having my big moment, and he's just like, you're a better person. Like it was everything like you ever want to hear. And then you know, he died of COVID like right after, and nobody even told me. We don't have a lot of mutual friends because of the falling out, and I didn't find out. When our movie premiered, he wasn't there, and I thought he like fucking just hated me. I don't know. Like I was like, why? Like I sat there and I was like a little like, it was like an amazing premiere, but like, you know, I thought he just like was like fuck off, but he wasn't like fuck off. He was fucking dead of COVID, and I found out like 6 months after the fact, 7 months after the fact, like just randomly. Like I just happened to miss the Facebook post that day. Like I'm not a, you know, the algorithm didn't tell me my buddy was dead. Yeah, it's really fucking intense, and like I just loved him so much, and like. It's very intense to me that like we got to make up like at the last minute. That doesn't happen all the time. Like I'm really lucky for that. And also, you know, the last thing we made together, like it's like every time I watch my movie now, like the last shot of the movie, like I'm going to be crying every time. It's like it's just like that was like all our years together and all our collaboration and everything we ever did sort of like led up to like we had like one last like, let's fucking do it like we used to. And like, there's nobody I can work with like him. We have our own language. Like, we don't have storyboards. We don't have anything. We just like know, like he just has an insanely good memory and can see everything visually. And I just do everything else. And like, he moves his camera like Wong Kar-wai. Like, he's just like, he was the greatest ever. He was the greatest I ever worked with. Yeah. And I just like, you know, I miss him, you know, obviously all the things you say, but I don't know. I think that's some shit that happens when you make movies. Fucking weird shit happens. Like things that have so much, especially when you make personal like movies. Like, man, shit gets in there. Shit gets too deep. But anyway, that's one of my videos. That one was probably a little long. I hope it wasn't like too sappy or like real or whatever. Yeah, I just making art with your friends. Like it's all that matters in this life.